This wasn't just another battle. This was a 22-day, 22-night inferno along the banks of a single river, a crucible that forged an entire nation. We're talking about a fight that didn't just stop a war, it literally shattered a global alliance and redrew the map of the modern world. Today, we're diving deep into the Battle of Sakarya, the ultimate last stand that changed absolutely everything. But before we get into it, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on that notification bell, and share and like my videos. The information in this explainer was put together from open sources. Thank you.
Alright, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to see just how perilously close to total collapse the Turkish nationalists really were. Then, we'll uncover the hidden advantages that completely flipped the script. We'll also break down the command factor. What happens when a unified team goes up against a divided one? And finally, we'll watch the diplomatic earthquake that followed.
Okay, picture this. It's the summer of 1921, and things are desperate. The Turkish army is in full retreat. The Greek army, backed by the victors of World War I, is pushing deep, deep into the heart of Anatolia. They're so close to the new capital, Ankara, that you could actually hear the rumble of their cannons from the parliament floor. Their goal? To capture the capital, crush the resistance once and for all, and seal the deal. The very survival of this whole nationalist movement was hanging by a single, fraying thread.
I mean, how dire was it really? So dire that the commander-in-chief himself, Mustafa Kemal, was already planning for the worst. He issued a direct order to pack up the entire government, the parliament, everything, and evacuate to the city of Cavalry. Just let that sink in. The leadership was literally preparing to abandon the capital. This wasn't just about losing a piece of territory. This was a fight for their very existence.
So, with their backs against the wall, how on earth did they turn it all around? You know, if you just looked at the numbers of soldiers, the army seemed pretty evenly matched. But this battle wasn't going to be won on the front lines. Nope. It was going to be decided by something way less obvious: crucial advantages in logistics and mobility.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem. You see, the Turkish army was fighting close to home. Their supply lines were short, secure, and efficient. The Greek army, on the other hand, was at the end of a very long, very fragile chain. Every single bullet, every bite of food had to be dragged hundreds of kilometers across hostile territory. Their own successful advance was slowly bleeding them dry, creating a logistical nightmare they couldn't escape.
And that strain was about to get a whole lot worse because of something military folks call a force multiplier. It's a fancy term, but the idea is simple. It's not about having more guys. It's about having one specific thing that makes your entire army way, way more powerful. And at Sakarya, the Turks had a force multiplier that was, believe it or not, pretty old school.
In fact, that advantage can be boiled down to a single number. The Turkish army had an incredible 8-to-1 superiority in one key area, an advantage so huge it let them dictate the flow of the entire battle, even when they were on the defense. So, what was it? Cavalry. That's right, horses. The Turkish army had 16 cavalry regiments. The Greeks had just 2. In the wide-open, rugged terrain of central Anatolia, this wasn't just some small edge, this was a game changer. It gave them incredible speed, they could shift forces to plug gaps in the line, they could race to counter an attack, they could be anywhere and everywhere across that 100-kilometer front. It was the ultimate rapid response force.
Okay, but you can have all the supplies and all the cavalry in the world, and it means nothing without good leadership. And at Sakarya, maybe the biggest difference of all wasn't the weapons. It was the people in charge. It was a classic story of unity versus disunity.
And the difference was just night and day. On the Turkish side, you had a unified command. These guys were all World War I veterans, and they worked together so seamlessly that they were described as operating like a machine. But the Greek high command? Well, it was a mess. It was completely paralyzed by infighting, disagreements, and personal rivalries that basically crippled their ability to make a clear decision when it mattered most.
And this toxic atmosphere completely exploded at the worst possible time. I mean, you can't make this up. During the most critical phase of the battle, the Greek commander, General Papoulas, was in open arguments with one of his key corps commanders, Prince Andrew. So while the Turkish command was moving as one, the Greek leaders were busy fighting each other, wasting precious time and opportunity.
The thing is, the victory at Sakarya didn't just stay on the battlefield. It sent a massive political shockwave hurtling across the entire world, a shockwave that would completely redraw the lines of global power. The guns may have fallen silent, but a whole new war, a diplomatic one, was just getting started.
And here's the absolute jaw-dropper.
The Entente, the alliance of the big World War I victors, Britain, France, and Italy, it shattered. For years, they'd been on the same page about how to carve up the old Ottoman Empire. But after Sakarya, France and Italy took one look at the situation and realized they had backed the losing horse. And just like that, their alliance crumbled.
You can see it happen, like a chain reaction, a series of dominoes falling one after the other. The military victory on the ground immediately became a diplomatic victory. France and Italy ditched their Greek allies and started talking directly to Ankara. All of a sudden, the Greek government was left completely alone on the world stage, while the Turkish nationalists finally got the international legitimacy they'd been fighting so hard for.
And look at how fast all of this unfolded. The battle ends in September 21, and immediately the diplomatic moves begin. Within a year, the Allies are formally asking for peace talks. By October of 1922, an armistice is signed that officially ends the war largely on Turkish terms. That's a masterclass in how to turn battlefield success directly into political power.
So, when you boil it all down, the Battle of Sakarya did way more than just stop an invasion. It completely destroyed the entire post-World War I settlement that the great powers had planned for the region. It forced Europe's empires to throw their old plans in the trash and recognize the new government in Ankara as the real deal. A new diplomatic reality was forged in blood, right there on the banks of the Sakarya River.
So I'll leave you with this question. How often does that really happen in history? For one single battle to be so decisive that it not only reverses the entire course of a war, but it also brings a powerful international alliance crashing down? It's incredibly rare. But Sakarya was that moment. It's a powerful lesson in how smart strategy, solid logistics, and unified command can overcome what looks like impossible odds. Not just to win a battle, but to change the world.